the first real thing is just really to become buyer obsessed, to really understand the perspective of the buyer, and start with, who are your ideal customers going to be? And there's a lot of talk around that, but from the companies that I've talked to, and I've over the years observed, probably into the thousands now, actually. I'll probably say less than 1% really understand their customers and really understand who the ideal customer is. And it's not, like I said, it's not the surface level, which is, just about the types of companies. For example, $1 billion company in revenue, they have this many markets or this many offices. No, it's about the individuals as well, who are the buyers themselves. Here's a really simple example, Sarah, that I ask, and I've probably had, out of the hundreds that I've asked in terms of salespeople, and out of the 418 buyers so far that I've asked about, if I was to ask a salesperson, tell me about the MBOs or the KPIs of your typical buyer. How are they being measured? What will determine their bonus? What are their responsibilities in terms of their performance reviews, whatever it might be? I've probably had no more than one hand out of the hundreds be able to answer that confidently. Well, look, if you don't know, and this includes founders, by the way, if you don't know how your buyers are measured in terms of bonuses, promotions, things they care about, how could you possibly know what's going to motivate them? How can you possibly align what you do with what will motivate them? So understanding the world of your buyers is incredibly important. And here's why that's really important as well. Is your position in the market is going to be different from those of your competitors. I would hope you're not trying to do the same as them. So the way you touch the buyers and affect their world has to be different. And that will go beyond just your go-to-market strategy. That's your product, that's your customer service, that's your tech, whatever it might be. It's all geared towards how do we give more value to those buyers? How do we make those buyers look like heroes? Because at the end of the day, it's not about ROI. It is important, don't get me wrong. Business value, ROI, that is important. But a buyer will buy from you for one main reason. And that reason is, can I entrust my reputation in this person's hands? Because when I make this decision, if it goes wrong, my reputation's at stake. In fact, I may even lose my job, right? Or my ego is at stake. So can I entrust my reputation in this person's hands? Is it safe in this person's hands? So understanding your buyers is the first port of call for any founder if you're looking to grow and scale your business in terms of the go-to-market approach.
That's a great point about the MBOs and the KPIs. And yeah, it totally makes sense. And I think it's something that so many are overlooking. We think we know what they care about by looking at like the LinkedIn job description, by asking the people within our company, like, what do you do in your day to day? And it kind of stops there. It doesn't. And then we try to align with their goals and their motivations based on what we've assumed from those sources. But you need to actually go in and dig and figure out exactly what they're comped on, what their goals are, what their targets are, and what they're measured on. Absolutely. That makes sense. And once you've got clarity on this, so you've got your ideal customer profile, but you've gone those layers deeper to really understand the buyer and then the humans that they are, what's the next step in building the infrastructure?
The next step is the extension to that, which is the customer buying journey. And it's a lot wider than people think it is. When you use the example of, let's think about an example. Let's say you're buying a CRM. Is that the right example? Let's use an everyday example, actually. Let's say you are thinking about eating at a restaurant, right? Now, the buyer's journey doesn't start necessarily with that initial point when you think about, I'm going to eat out today, right? This is just an example. Most people think that's where the buyer's journey starts, but actually it's way before that, right? It's, where am I hearing about restaurants, for example? Is it a particular community of friends that I have? Is it a magazine that I subscribe to about restaurants, about food, about culinary interests? Is it, the buyer experience could be, I ate Thai food when I was young and didn't agree with me. I was 5 years old. And ever since then, I just don't like Thai food. That is, believe it or not, part of the buyer's experience. So the buyer's experience is really, really wide. And what you need to understand is, what do those buyers go through? Not within the prism of sales, although that is the first level of maturity. But as you further advance into the maturity level, you will start to appreciate that the buyer's journey is far wider than that, and it's within their own perspective. And so why is that important? Well, because at every point of that buyer's journey, someone is influencing them. And the decision you've got to make is, do we have a seat at that influencing table or not? And that, where attention flows, energy and decision goes, right? And so you need to understand who's commanding that person's attention at what stage. And more importantly, where are they in that buyer's journey? What are the triggers that will tell me that person's in that stage of the journey? And therefore, what is my approach with them? If I'm in sell mode, but they're in education phase, well, in the education phase, they're taking their time. They don't want to be pressured. They're exploring opportunities. They're investigating. They're researching. So although it feels like a longer game that sales leaders and investors don't like to hear, the worst thing you can do is go sell, particularly with the more informed buyer of these days and age. So you need to understand where they are in the journey, because you need to understand what information is going to be of value for them, right? Mm-hmm. If you've got someone education phase, fine. But what if you've got someone who's in the stakeholder validation phase? What if you've got someone who's at the stage right now, they know that they need to make a decision about a new CRM tool or a new software tool of some kind. They know it, but now they've got to convince other people in the business that this is the right idea. And that can be incredibly challenging. So would selling them be of value, or would giving them information so that they can have better discussions internally to convince those stakeholders and make them look smarter and more valuable and more interested by the stakeholders, would that be of more value than selling to them? Because if you can do that and help them do that, guess what? Who are they going to call on when they decide to look at vendors? Is it going to be the people that just sold to them and just annoyed them? Or is it going to be those friends that helped them, right? Mm-hmm. So knowing that buyer's journey is incredibly important, because that will create the elements of the infrastructure, both in sales and marketing, leading with insights, even the skills of the people that you acquire, that will inform those decisions and how you structure your go-to-market functions around that.